So I'm not sure how clear so that introduction was a bit unusual. Now I've got to try and turn my camera around without blinding myself. So I've got a camera here filming the weir. So I've got a few things to explain. I'm going to cut to these cameras. I've been setting up all over the place. I've been filming slow motion, the water rising. A lot of noise, a lot of power in the water. So, walk along a bit. The reason being, this part of my channel, I'm going to explain a few things that are going to be happening in the next few videos on my channel. I usually follow canals, or I usually find historical things, basically. Historical landmarks or bits of brick and stone or underground waterways, but it's called urban exploring, I suppose, but mine's more rural. Anyway, so you've got about 4 videos that will be next. The mainly experiments that I've done. There's one where I did a take in 7 minutes of explaining a rise lock, and I did it all in one cut, so I'm including that. I filmed lightning, so that's part of this video. I've tried to film lightning. There's a few bits and pieces like an introduction to Leeds-Liverpool Canal, but the main thing is what I'm trying to explain in this video is a little bit about time and how relativity affects each individual. So it's been proven that gravity can warp time, etc. So we basically all perceive time differently. Different creatures, for example, like a gnat or a fly, might only live for 1 week, but that's an entire lifetime. I believe flies actually do see the universe or the world that they live in slow motion. So if you wave a hand to try and hit a fly, it sees you coming in slow motion. We portray time by ourselves and the speed that your phone records at, things like that. It's our perspective. Like the speed that the moon goes around the earth is extremely slow, but in somebody's reality it's just the perfect time and they see the moon rise extremely quickly. In geological terms, over 50,000 years, the moon goes up and down like a roller coaster, round and round and round. The speed of water, we look at it and it looks as though it almost isn't moving, but everything is relative to the gravity on the earth that pulls the water along. So if, like, say a waterfall was on the moon, it'd fall slower. So our perception and what we perceive is actually an illusion. So we can use cameras to slow time down, speed it up. We can watch day turn to night, we can watch rivers fill up very quickly during a rain storm, and that is what I'm going to do here. A few time lapses, but the main reason is to explain that there's no right or wrong way of explaining time. Not even using a clock necessarily. Another thing about relativity is a good way to explain relativity is imagine a tennis game, a game of tennis, and it's a human's sport, as we all know. So imagine an insect taking part in a game of tennis. How small the ball would have to be. How would you get it to go in slow motion, like I've just said, but it would perceive it as slow motion. So they would perceive this game of tennis in exactly the same way we would, as long as the court was the right size, the ball was the right size, the gravity was correct. Same with a giant who was, like, the head was the size of the moon, and they had to use like the distance between Earth and the Venus as the size of the tennis court, and the ball would have to be, I don't know, You know what I mean? A humongous ball. Like the size of, I don't know, Everest. But they would still perceive and they would still perceive that game as the same as we do. So the ball has to, like, so if a giant, for example, might see things in slow motion compared to us and see everything else is moving rapidly, but we'd see this game of tennis being played out extremely slowly, and we'd see the insect game of tennis extremely rapidly. But everybody would be perceiving their game of tennis as completely normal. And that is the best way to explain relativity. And that is the best way to explain how we are governed by our time. But as I've just shown in these relatively few clips, time can be perceived differently for many different people. And that is all this video is about, to explain that basically. The way that I filmed, it's due to breach, and I've been filming it for almost 2 years. Well, I started 2 years ago watching this weir, and it won't breach. I was stood on the old Bury Bolton Canal, that's where I started this video. So I've been watching, and I live nearby, so it's not like I travel here. I just check it when I go to the shops and stuff, and I think it's going to breach. It's definitely going to breach, but it still hasn't. So that was another video that will be included. I'm going to compile that together and put it together. It was what I was filming at night time. So you've got the Leeds-Liverpool Canal, an explanation of this weir, which was mainly filmed at night, which explains how dams breach, but it never did breach. So there's a lot of stuff piled up behind that dam, but half of it is now missing, and it is due to breach. So that's the next video along. We've got Leeds-Liverpool Canal, as I've said, and any other bits and bats. Then we're into the Peak Forest Canal. There's about 6 films about the Peak Forest Canal. A lot of stuff is about the canals, but it also explains history. It's not just about canals, it's about how the world has changed in the last 250 years. That includes the annoyance of modern noises, which we all hear differently at different volumes because we have different hearing levels. So that's another thing that's relative. So the speed of sound is different, the speed of light is pretty much a constant for everything. But we all perceive a slightly different universe. So we've seen, up to this point, I'll have done the introduction to what is the Rochdale Canal, and I'll say this is the end of the canals. There will be more canal stuff. At some point I'll definitely be doing more canal stuff, because I just enjoy walking on canals, and it seems right only to film it, because you always find something interesting along the canal. So hopefully we've come into the end now of this. It's a brief explanation of time, how time works, without using a clock, how, you know, things are different from different scales and different perspectives, and how a camera can bring that alive for us. So just an interesting video that had to be included on my channel. Yeah, before the Rochdale Canal was filmed, I was planning on just basically then filming anything I like. I'm going to start picking out random things I find in fields like I used to. So that'll be the next bit. There'll be some Roman stuff in there. There's going to be, I think I found an old mill up in the Lancashire, which is really easy to explain because it's going to be dead quiet, and a lot of it still remains. So it hasn't been upgraded by modern industry. It's just been left to go into disrepair, but it's a lot of it's still there. So we're going to go and investigate some of the things that are up in the hills in Lancashire and etc. So take care everybody. Just another brief video at a time, and it's another, I'm experimenting also with cameras and to see what I actually get. So some of this footage is very raw, but it is very difficult to actually film and shoot, and once you set a camera up filming, you know, in stop motion, you have to leave it for like a day to get an hour's, no, to get an hour's worth of footage, you'd have to leave it filming all week, sorry. Yeah, to get a few minutes footage. So I'm going to try and speed up 12 hours into whatever the length of this video is. But you'll see 12 hours of a day pass. Okay, Manchester, take care. Stephen Goddard, Brief Videos of Time. Oh, Manchester, UK, Brief Videos of Time. It's just my breath. I'm out doing some experimental filming, and I don't know if you noticed what I just found. I'm going to have to check the mark on that. It looks like I found some old tiles, but that one seemed older. Anyway, see what we've got at night, and some time stamps in slow motion. It's just the UK Brief Videos of Time. Oh, blinded me.